Hey, what's up guys, Josh's Boost here and welcome back to another One Piece video. So, doing a little bit of a different video than usual, I suppose. I'm mostly gonna be like venting a little bit about the format. And also, I guess like a short recap of my finals experience that we had this weekend, because we had the Bandai Cardfest in Düsseldorf this weekend, which I participated in, hoping to get to Worlds again, which I didn't, of course. Didn't even make top cuts. But that's not really what I want to be like venting about. I really want to be venting about the current state of the game, or the meta, I suppose. And I have some thoughts on that. I suppose I also want to talk about like the time rules at some point, but I think I'm saving that for another video. I mostly want to talk purely like gameplay wise, even though of course time is a big part of Top Cut gameplay specifically. But yeah, we had finals this weekend, and I had the past 2 weeks off actually from work, so I spent a lot of time testing. Mostly I spent a lot of time testing decks that were not Emu or Ace, which are commonly seen as the mostly like the only viable decks in this form, right? It's mostly like Emu and Ace are like the only two decks, and then I guess if you don't want to play either of those, you can play Zoro. But other than that, there's just nothing that's really playable. I think that gives you like an actual shot of winning an event. So I spent a lot of time mostly like perfecting like my red green smoker list, which in the end I think like for like an off meta deck, it is very strong. But in the end I figured it just couldn't compete, and then I spent like the last I think 2 days or something just practicing some more Emu, which was the deck I decided to bring to finals eventually. And at finals I went like 5-3 drop essentially. I did play the 9th round as well, which I lost as well, but by that time like I was not properly focusing anyway. But so I guess 5-4, even better right now. And while really experiencing this format like in the tournament sense of things, and not just playing like locals and playing the sim, but like actually playing a big tournament, it really made me realize how much I dislike the current state of the game. And I just want to share my thoughts about why that is. There's like a couple of reasons. Like during my finals run, essentially what happened is like all the games that I won, I played against like 4 Ace, a Roger, 2 Zoro, and 1 mirror match, and 1 Lim. And what happened is every time I won the die roll, I won the game. And every time I lost the die roll, I lost the game as well. And there's only one exception, which was I lost the die roll to Lim, but I ended up winning that game. Anyway, but I think that's mostly just because there's just a huge power gap between like the Emu deck and the Lim deck. I really think like all the off-meta decks, like Red Green Smoker, Lim, Blue Purple Luffy maybe even, like they are good enough, I suppose, if you're playing against not as competent players. But if you're playing against good players, it becomes very, very hard to win when you're playing those strategies, even when you build the deck to beat like the meta decks like Ace and Emu, right? Which is like the first problem I have with this format. I know a lot of people actually like it when there is a format where you only have like 2 or 3 decks, because it makes it easier to prepare for an event, because you're just gonna be running into those decks mostly, and so you can spend most of your time practicing against those decks and really get to know all the lines. I want to talk about that like a little bit more later as well, but I actually like it when there's like a little bit of variety in the format. I really like cooking like off meta decks and trying to do well with that. And I think One Piece as a game generally, it doesn't lend itself to that good anyway, but then this format is just even worse. There's like really in my experience nothing that can compete with the power level of specifically Emu and Ace in its current state. Like they just printed this OP13 set, and the leaders and like the deck cores that were in the set, the power level is just so far apart from like past cards, like past sets, that it's just kind of impossible to compete with. with those decks, so that's something that I didn't quite like. So I was already going into the event like, okay, I do not like that. But maybe at first I was like, maybe the gameplay is like actually fun with Emu, like the mirror match is interesting, and in my opinion, it just really isn't. I don't even think like I do think the die roll plays a very big part in this format, like a bigger part than it did ever before in this game. Actually, I think. Because both Ace and Emo are like so much stronger when you're going second, and even like a deck like Zoro, right, wants to go second against those decks just because the power level of like Ace and Emu both is so high when it's going second, which I think says a lot. But that's not even like obviously that's not good, but I do think in Top Cut we saw one of the Ace players who made finals, David. Mega shout out to you. I'll get to that as well. For making it to Worlds, obviously. But if you're watching this, which I hope you are. But where was I going? It's like the biggest difference maker, I think, ever since the start of the game. And what I also don't like about... Oh, right, I was talking about like how interesting it is to play like the specific matchup, like Ace versus Emu, Emu versus Emu, Ace versus Ace, stuff like that. And I also want to mention that you might have noticed that I haven't uploaded, if you're like a follower of the channel, in like 2 weeks, I think now, and the reason for that is I really didn't want to do just videos on like those meta decks, but I really felt like there was nothing... Like, basically every time I played a rogue deck, it literally just felt like I was recording a video where it's like, okay, how bad does this deck lose to the top decks, which just really took a lot out of the fun out of it for me. And in the end, this is just something I'm doing for fun, right? And if I'm not having fun, then what's the point? And I really had the same feeling when I was playing the tournament, where it's like, you know, in the end, the most important thing for me when I go to a One Piece tournament, I just want to enjoy the game. I want to play like my favorite characters. I want to have like fun with my opponent, have fun when I'm playing the game. Shout out to all my opponents from the weekend, by the way. Like everyone I played was super nice. I did have like, in the social interaction with my opponents, I did have a great time. It's just the gameplay aspect of it was not fun to me, which is what I was getting at before, where it's like, okay, maybe the Emu mirror match is interesting, Emu versus Ace is interesting, but it's just not. Every game feels super scripted, where it's just like every ideal turn is like super scripted. You know, it's like Ace just wants to go like Searcher, like Searcher attached on, then play Marco, then on 6 you play Jozu, on 8 you go I am Whitebeard, play a big boy, then on 10 you play a big boy again where you're playing against Emu, and then like in the Ace mirror match it's the same, which is like the Jozu War and stuff, right? And the Emu mirror match, it's like the same. Okay, on 3 I want to go like Jay Garcia Saturn, then on 5 maybe like if my opponent has 7 cards in trash, I go Mars, but if he doesn't, then maybe I go Nash Juro or play like another Saturn, and then like when you go second, just like you want to go like Saturn, and then maybe like if you're super high rolling, you go on 6 you go Saturn Topman. Then on 8 you go Jupiter, then on 10 you just go like 10 cost. You can literally just like dream every scenario in the in these matchups, and there is just, in my opinion, and like feel free to disagree, it's just, it feels very scripted, and there's just not that much variety in the gameplay involved, which just doesn't make it fun, because it's not like, okay, my opponent made like this certain field, now how do I interact with that? It's just this, the best line is just always the best line. And I think that's just also part of the card design in this set, where it's like like in A specifically, it's just like, okay, what's the biggest guy in my hand? Okay, how many done do I have? Okay, that's just the play I'm gonna make. And Emu's not even that much different, to be honest. I think like this, it's like a little bit different, but it doesn't differ that much. And that's also something I don't like about the format. I think like if the top decks in the format are like, have a very high skill ceiling, I don't mind it that much, because you can still have like the edge over your opponent if you put in like a lot of hours. And don't take me wrong, I am for sure not the best Emu player. I've been saying this on Twitter and stuff as well. But I don't think like, I lost one of my games this weekend was to a misplay, and all the other ones were unwinnable, I think, for me. Maybe the Emo Mirror match I could have won, but I could have put myself in a better the position, but I don't think I would have won. And like all the other Ace games I played that were just literally unwinnable. I think I played perfectly. In some cases, I think I even played better than my opponents, but in the end, like, it didn't matter. And there was just one game where I played where my opponent did Conqueror's Haki, which kind of blew my mind. And then I was so surprised by this card being in the deck that I didn't like think of the optimal line. And that loss was definitely my own fault, and all the other losses, they were just out of my hands, I think. But the thing is, like, if the skill ceiling to the top decks is high, I think it's sort of okay, but the decks are just so linear, and that's, in these few weeks that OP13 has been out, I think everybody who takes the game at least like a little bit seriously already figured out the way to pilot these decks, because they're just relatively easy, which, of course, there's like a good side to that as well, but I do think that if you want to be like competitive, it is good if a competitive deck is relatively hard to play. Like last year, I think, I'm not even talking about Lucia at all. I think like Dofi was like a perfect deck to be like the best deck in a room. Even Black Yellow Luffy, I think both these decks had like a relatively high skill ceiling, which I think is very healthy for a competitive game. And then I do think that the relative skill ceiling to both Emo and Ace is actually a bit lower than those decks, or quite a bit lower actually, which just makes it not so fun. You're just going through the motions every game, and it always plays out like basically the same way, and then who had the better hand, or who went second, very much decides the game, which just made this event very very unfun for me. And I don't really like doing these videos because I love One Piece. Like I love this card game. I love One Piece as a property. I mean, I have like the Lucci tattoo and like the Smoker tattoo. I'm wearing like a One Piece One Piece sweater, right? Like I love One Piece. But I did not have a good time this weekend, and it just made me a little bit sad. However, I do want to congratulate specifically David, who made Worlds playing Ace. Top got crazy, by the way. Like top 8 was like 6 Ace, and then top 4 is just 4 Ace, which definitely I did not expect going into the event. But I guess when I was testing, I was like, okay, I figured before Emu would probably be the best deck, and then when I was testing, Ace felt actually better to me, but just everything I heard around me made me think that Emu was better, but I should have trusted my own judgment, I think. But even then, I wouldn't have brought Ace to this event. Just saying, but I do think in the end, Ace is the better deck. But yeah, congratulations to David specifically for making it to Worlds. At this point, when I'm recording this video, I'm not sure who the other Worlds participants are, aside from the other finalists, obviously. But congrats to them as well, I suppose. Biggest event of the year, right? So making it to Worlds is amazing, and maybe I'm just like being a massive downer during this video, but I just wanted to vent my thoughts like a little bit, and I'll try to upload some videos in the coming weeks. I have some Smoker deck profiles, like I want to share my own Smoker deck profile that I made Top Cut with at a Store Treasure Cup, and then Raphael Nevin also made, I think it was second place at a Store Treasure Cup with Smoker as well, like with an updated list. So maybe I'll just like show those lists, and maybe do some like some more content with some decks that I do enjoy playing. But I'm mostly really looking forward to OP14, and yeah, I haven't been like so down about the game since release, I think, which is a shame. But I'm sure there's like a lot of people who enjoy this format as well, which is obviously fine. But this is just how I feel. I just wanted to talk a little bit about why I experienced, and I do think this is a very shared sentiment actually, because a lot of people that I talked to during finals, they agreed with me that this format is not the most fun, to say it in the least. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it at that. I have been yapping for like almost 15 minutes, so if you made it to the end of the video, massive shout out to you, to just listening about me being depressed about OP13. leave a like regardless, I guess, even though I was very down. Let me know what you think about the format. Do you agree with my takes about what makes like a format fun specifically? And also what makes a format good. And because honestly, I don't think this format is either of those. Subscribe. I will be bringing more content again. I just really, during this time when I'm not enjoying the game, it's just hard to to make to gather the energy to make like good fun content. But I will be trying that. So yeah, subscribe for that. I will be getting into it. And if you do, I'll see you in the next one.